What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the MMA channel with me, Marisol Moran. Today we're going to be talking about the featherweights, the women featherweights in the UFC. So I had a bit of a Q&A a while back where I requested people to send in their questions. And one of them was what my thoughts were on the featherweight division, as this person who sent in the question believed that it was the weakest division in the UFC. So I thought that this definitely needed a little bit more of a longer video instead of just being a part of Q&A. So let's get into exactly why at this moment in time it is the weakest link when it comes to the UFC divisions. So let's get into it. So what exactly is going on with the women featherweights? As we all know, Amanda Nunes is the reigning champion of the women's featherweights. She is champ, as she is also the champ in the 135 division. With that being said, when we look at her being the champ, in previous divisions, we have seen where the champ is, stripped of one of their belts, whether that be the previous one or the current one. But it happened with Conor McGregor, it happened with DC, it hasn't happened with Amanda Nunes, and I don't think it actually ever will, which I'll get into in a little bit. So we have her as the reigning champ. She's straddling right now two different divisions, and she actually does have a title defense coming up for the 135 division in December. She's going to be fighting Germaine Durandamy. And so we'll get into that in a different video because that is coming up relatively soon. So that's what's going on with Amanda Nunes. With the division itself, we don't actually get to really see one. Off the top of my head, I can name Amanda Nunes as being in that division. I can name Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer as being in that division. Cyborg, she got kicked out. She's now in a different division. So we just have those three women off the top of my head and who actually have a bit of a name for themselves in the UFC. So there's that. But when you actually go to the website, the UFC website, and you look at the rankings, so when you go on the rankings page, you actually do see every single division in the UFC, and you see the champion, they get their picture up there, and then everybody else in a file, depending on where they are in line when it comes to the rankings. And for the 145 division for the women, you see no one. All you see is Amanda Nunes and then no one underneath her in any kind of order whatsoever. There's no one there. It's the bottom of that page, which speaks volumes. It may not seem like it doesn't speak any volumes to go. They just haven't added anybody. But if you have a stacked division or even a not so stacked division, because when we look at, in terms of, as I mentioned before, the weakest link when it comes to the divisions in the UFC, people might think, oh, well, the male flyweights, like nobody really cares about them. So you could make that argument. I think that's a bit harsh, but you could make that argument. But at least they are actually still on there. The flyweights, the male flyweights, they are there, loud and proud, listed on the rankings page, but there is nobody listed on that featherweight division for the women. So we have that going on as well for the women's division, women's featherweight division. When it comes to what else is going on and what could potentially be done with it, it was mentioned in an interview. Dana White did say that even with Cyborg leaving, who was a huge star and essentially was relatively perfect for that division, even with her leaving, they were going to keep that division. He was going to talk to Amanda Nunes. He even said that he thinks that she could keep defending both and then essentially go from there and potentially even recruit more women to be in that division. That has yet to take place. There doesn't seem to be much of a hurry to recruit more women into that division, which they easily could. They could easily have more women recruited through the Contender Series. That has, I think, 4 seasons now, but they haven't done that. I think most recently, the only woman off the top of my head that I can recall actually being recruited through the Contender Series is Tracy Cortez, and she is in the 125 division, I believe. But still, no featherweights for the women were through that series, and they easily could do that through that series, have more women recruited through the Contender Series, or maybe even through some other ways. You don't necessarily have to go through that, although that does seem to be the Dana White way, to have some sort of television series in order to recruit fighters. But again, that's not being done. There doesn't seem to be some sort of sense of urgency to really build this division. And I don't know if it can be quote unquote saved or actually really built If perhaps Amanda Nunes decided that she wanted to strictly be the 145 division champion and really dedicate her time to it, I could see how that might push Dana White to perhaps recruit more women to that division. But there is no incentive for her to actually do it. There isn't any competition there for her to actually go and be a part of that division. So that just doesn't really seem likely. Additionally, there isn't really much interest from the masses around this division either. And I think that perhaps if Amanda Nunes was a bigger star, she could perhaps bring more attention to it. But she isn't much of a star in that sense. Don't get me wrong, Amanda Nunes is a phenomenal fighter, and I think we're going to see the most dominant champion in the 135 division in Amanda Nunes. I think that's definitely going to be the case. But in terms of star power, I don't see that for her. And if she doesn't have that, then it's going to be difficult to bring attention through her to the 145 division as well. So we don't have any star power going on in that division. We don't have a sense of urgency when it comes to the management and building that division. So what exactly is going to happen to the women featherweights in the UFC? At this point, it seems like we're just going to have more of the same and have like your one odd fight here and there. Unless there's like some weird, like they bring some superstar in from a different organization to fight Amanda Nunes in the next featherweight bout. Because at this point, I'm not sure who would even fight her. I don't think Megan Anderson would necessarily deserve a title shot next. Felicia Spencer is coming off a loss. And if anybody else is on the roster for the women's featherweights, I can't even think of their names. So who they might even bring in if they do, I think that is where the crux of it is. If they can actually bring in somebody who is extremely competitive to fight Amanda Nunes next. I do think she said recently in an interview that she wanted to defend the 145 title after she defends this 135 title in December. But there's nobody compelling for her to fight anyway in that division. So if they bring in somebody who is compelling, I think that'll be the deal maker, so to speak, for that division. But at this point, it's looking a bit grim. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you have faith that the 145 division for the women will be built, or do you think that after Amanda Nunes, it'll just be thrown to the wayside? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one.